Hello, Slicey Dicers. This is Brian with another knife review for you. Today we have the Aquila, however you choose to say it. I think it's Aquila. A very, very cool new knife from this is a Civivis higher end, I guess is the best way to describe it. They came out with a bunch of $42 knives. Now these are 68, different steel. We will get into exactly how they compare to the lower end Civivis at the end of this video. So if you want to stick around for that, it's going to be interesting because the lower end Civivis are really nice. This is just kind of a first impressions video. I've only had this for a few hours, but I have had other Civivis and the knife, the full production, like full-on Wii that this is loosely based on. So I think I have half an opinion about it. I'll do a more full review later, but this is more just first impressions. I will say though, if you want one of these, they're going to sell quick. All the new Civivis sell out very, very fast. Go to whitemountainKnives.com. They have them all in stock. And use the code SDWMK, 10% off. 10% off of $68 is a good chunk of change. So go there, check that out. You get 10% off the entire site if you use that code, not just on the Civivis. But whenever I review a knife that's on there and available, I like to remind you guys that. So go check them out. Run them out of knives. You guys usually do. Whenever I use that code, everything's sold out immediately. So go there and check that out. Post haste, as they would say. Talk more about this knife. As I said, this is kind of a higher end version of the Civivi line made by Wii. It has VG10 steel, which is different than the 9CR18 you will see on the other Civivis, and it's got a titanium deep carry pocket clip. I think also a little bit nicer finish on the blade and just a few more little details. We'll talk about it more at the end. Is it a dramatic difference? We'll see, but there are a few little nicer things on these to make them worth that $68. So, but yeah, as I said, this knife is very similar to the Wii Ignition, which I really loved the Wii Ignition. It was Wii's first kind of getting into making more practical EDC knives. It was very similar blade shape, titanium frame lock on one side, G10 slab on the other. It did still have the star screws on it, so that was annoying. But other than that, it was a much more practical kind of knife. Unfortunately, I don't have mine anymore. This is slightly larger. This is like a Wii Ignition with a liner lock that was put into a copier at 110%. It's kind of the best way to describe it from my initial impressions of only having it for, a few hours, several hours, I guess. But it is very cool. I'm glad to see Civivi expanding their line more into kind of EDC sizes. This one is still fairly large, which I guess will lead us into a good time to do the specs on this. We have an overall length of 8.3 inches, blade length of 3.45 inches, blade thickness 0.13, handle thickness of 0.52, and a weight of 4.1 ounces. Let's do a few size comparisons here, and then we'll get moving on. You have your, I'm just grabbing stuff I have laying around. As I said, this is just a first impression, so I'm not going to get into a whole lot. Your Ontario Wrap Model 1. You can see it's a little bit smaller than that. Not nearly as much smaller as I thought it would be. Nearly as much smaller. For some reason, that doesn't sound like a good sentence. Your Spyderco Paramilitary 2. Pretty similar in overall size to that, as you would expect. Very similar blade lengths and all that. And what else do I want to grab here? I have this laying around. Let's just do the Benchmade 940. Pretty similar in overall length to that. So pretty good mid-size to full-size EDC knife. What do I think of it overall? I really like the look of it. I like the look of the ignition a lot. I like the way that Wii puts the deployment hole in here. It's very well chamfered. It works well, and I always kind of like the look of it. You have a high hollow grind. G10 scales that feel maybe a bit nicer than the lower end Wii's, but I'm not really sure about that. Initial impression, they feel a little bit nicer, but I don't know if that's just an example to example thing. But G10 backspacer, gold liners. I like the black and gold liner combination. I think it looks pretty cool, but you can get it in a lot more different colors. That is one thing that's different than the lower end Wii's. You can get it in a lot more different versions. You can get it in a black, a tan, or a green, which is something you can get in the Backlash also, but then you can also get a partially coated blade in any of those color combinations. So that's pretty cool. You do have much more design choice, I guess, depending on which one you want to get. So if you got the coated, the swedge and the blade itself are black, and the flats are polished. So that's the difference there. You're still getting the same hardware as far as I can tell. I don't know. It does look a lot nicer hardware maybe than you're getting the lower end Civivis. We'll compare that more as we go on, but it's still steel. So, but it does look a little bit nicer. As I said, titanium deep carry pocket clip. It's a nice looking knife. It's pretty nice. And the blade, really good. That's one thing that all these Civivis have been nailing. Super thin behind the edge. You're looking at, I measured this at 15 thousandths behind the edge, and it may even be a little bit less than that, but it's very slim behind the edge. Very slicey. Very nice hollow grind. And since they made the old ignition style blade just a little bit bigger, you're getting it's a bit taller hollow grind too, which is nice. And the tip, not robust, but not skimpy either. With that nice swedge going all the way to the tip, you get a little bit more strength up there, but not a whole lot. Ergonomically, it's pretty darn good. Pretty darn good. Feels great in the hand. As I said, the ignition, I think I said in my review, I'm not sure. I know I felt it. Maybe I didn't articulate in the review, but it did feel just a bit small sometimes. This doesn't, as I said, just making it a little bit bigger. It's almost exactly the same handle shape and everything, but it fits my hand just a little bit better because I have my ridiculously long, skinny fingers. The jimping is really good. I really like the jimping on this. They did an excellent job with it. Works really well. You can choke up if you have skinny fingers like me. If you have fat fingers, you might not be able to, but I can. I don't know if that's something everybody's going to be able to do, but it works out all right for me. No hot spots whatsoever. I will say this clip, on all the other Civivis, I did mention that I could feel the clip. This one I cannot, so that's a good thing. Yeah, carry-wise, yeah, it's no deep carry clip, but it slides in and out of the pocket pretty good. Where's my my beat-up Wranglers? I said this was a first impressions, and it's turning into a full-on review, but I didn't mean to do that, because I don't have like I said, I only have a few hours with this, but today was a rare day where my daughter's homesick, and I had time just to sit around and flip around with knives for a while. So, so as you can see, good chunk of it sticking out of there. And these liners are always going to be gold, no matter which color you get. So you are going to have a little bit of gold sticking out of your pocket. But you can see it's not too bad. Plain enough to grab a hold of. As I said, titanium pocket clip, but the screws holding it are still stainless steel as far as I can tell. Actually, I know I can tell because I pulled a couple out and put a magnet on them. So all the screws are still stainless. Action on it, just as good as the other Civivis. Detent is perfect. Just perfect. They nail the detent on these things. You can absolutely use the thumb hole, which is really nice. That's another big difference between this. The Corsair, the other higher end one like this, doesn't have the thumb hole. But on the Aquila, I really, really do like the additional methods of deployment. That is something that I think is pretty great. You can spidey flick it. You have to do it pretty deliberately with the spidey flick, but you can spidey flick it and thumb flick it a lot easier than you could on the ignition also, because this is a liner lock, so you don't have to worry about pushing on the frame lock at all. As you can see, by the way, the lockup's pretty good. Yeah, it's almost fully engaged. It's pretty close. That'll probably break in really quick. It's a bit early, but not too bad. Drop shuts really well. I mean, you have to flick it, same as you have to on the Backlash. But this is, as I said, pretty brand new. You'll see when I bring the Backlash out here in a moment how well they break in. This is on ceramic bearings instead of the stainless steel, so that's nice. And as I said, this just isn't broken in yet. I assume it's going to be just as good, if not better, than the Backlash once it breaks in. I haven't put my little special sauce on it anymore. I don't have special sauce anymore. I just use that KPL knife pivot lube stuff. That's my special sauce now. But you can see milled out liners. Yeah, I forgot to mention that earlier. This is, the action on it is really great. It's just as good as the other Civivis, which is saying it's really good, which is saying it's as good as any other Wii, except for maybe their really high-end stuff. But yeah, so my overall impressions of this are that it's my initial first impressions. It's another Civivi, which is a nice thing to say. They're really nice. I've been very happy with the Civivis, to the point that I've said before that they've kind of just taken over, and I don't know how we get better from there. This was an attempt to go better from there. Did they? So this is $68. I'm going to bring out the backlash again because it is the most comparable between these two. Pretty similar blade length, pretty similar overall stuff. What's different? As I said, VG10 steel versus 9CR18 MOV. Do I think that's an upgrade? Yeah, I don't know. The 9CR18 has tested very well. VG10 is not one of my favorite steels, but I do understand that in this price bracket, people probably expect to see a blade steel name they recognize. I don't think that VG10 is a downgrade from the 9CR18 by any means, but I don't think it's a big upgrade either. One upgrade in the blade I will say is the finish is, it's not going to come across on camera, they're going to look identical, but I like the finish a bit better on the more expensive Aquila. It just looks a little bit better. Can't really put my finger on exactly why, and it may just be between these two examples, but I do think the finish is slightly better, especially, when you look around the little hole, the deployment hole there. They did a nice little job there. Everything is nicely chamfered on both of them, but maybe just a bit more on the Aquila. The hardware is different. They are still stainless, but they are different screws. Really deep screws on the Aquila, which is really nice. These are really good. Definitely awesome for $42, and these are awesome for $68. So I do like that they took the time to upgrade the hardware a little bit. That's really nice. The pocket clip thing, I could have done without the titanium pocket clip. If they're charging extra because they put that milled titanium pocket clip on it, I could have done without that. I think the regular Civivi clip would have been fine. They are swappable if you want to do that. I know that Zell said they probably won't give you one of these clips like Benchmade will, but they might sell you one. I might get an extra and swap it out because I would like to have a bit more deep carry, and I just don't care about having a titanium milled pocket clip. It's if you really like that, great, but I'd rather this had been, $5-6 cheaper and just not had that and had the old clip on it. But so is it worth the price difference? Is it worth the $26 question? Is it worth getting this instead of this? Maybe. I don't know. I'm happy with both of them. I do like the multiple deployment methods on the Aquila, but that's more of a design thing than a cost thing. The nicer hardware is nicer. This is definitely really nice hardware, I'll say that. But the steel choice I'm neutral about. A couple little things seem a little bit nicer on this. As I said, I think this G10 is a bit different. It does feel just a little bit nicer. Definitely grippier than it is, but I like the shape and the contours on this more. Again, this isn't a battle to the death thing. Maybe I'll do that, but if you guys want a full-on battle to the death, let me know in the comments between these two. But overall, I'd say, yeah, it might be. It depends on your taste. Both of them are really good values. Both of them, you're getting excellent bang for the buck. I mean, if you're looking at a VG10 Spyderco, you're looking at FRN handles and a backlock, where this, you have a really nice ceramic ball bearing flipper that works great. Yeah, I'd like it. I'm excited to get the Corsair and try that out also. That's as I said, no deployment hole, a bit more of a, and it's a flat grind. Bit different blade, different all around pretty much, but about the same size. So you'll see that in a few days, a similar first impressions video like this. But hope you guys have enjoyed this. It does come, by the way, with all the usual Civivi stuff, the same box and packaging the other one comes in, and all the little Rolls-Royce floor mats and the whole thing. Almost forgot all that. But hope you guys have enjoyed this. Again, just a little first impressions video. You'll see more of this knife on the channel. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. I've been Brian. Have a good one.